Hey guys, let's eat.
You heard in a statement to CNN that Madeline Cuomo denies that any of this was at her brother's direction. Obviously, that's not the suggestion made in the trove of emails and phone messages and the like that the New York Times reviewed. So which do you believe? I will say, having seen a lot of online activity and mobs going after people, especially women who make accusations against powerful men, it really makes you wonder how much, if any of it, is organic versus how much of it is being pushed by these high-profile men. Does this make your client, Charlotte Bennett, feel relieved in any way, in a weird way, in the fact that this wasn't necessarily organic? This was basically a political army on the internet of trolls? Yeah. Deborah Katz, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Coming up next, Ohio's issue number one, why critics argue Republicans are using this special election happening right now to change the rules on abortion rights so they don't have to deal with what the majority wants.
Subway's now slicing their meats fresh. That's why Subway's preferred by this champ and his future champ. And if we prefer it, we know you'll prefer it too. He's cocky for a 19-year-old.
You're finally mastering Grandma's 12-hour sauce. You're still talking about an 11th hour. Luckily, American Home Shield is there to fix or replace covered appliances in home systems. Protect what you don't expect. Visit ahs.com and get a free quote today.
Without the ones like you working tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. No matter your industry, Granger's here for you with professional-grade supplies. Call, click Granger.com, or just stop by. Granger, for the ones who get it done.
They get it. They know how it works. And more importantly, it works for them.
I don't have any anxiety about money anymore. I don't have to worry about a mortgage payment every month. It allowed me to live in my home and not have to make payments.
Linda, Dinah, Joanne, very different people. But they do have a couple of things in common. They love their home and they know their stuff. They all talked about the counseling they got, so they knew how
how a reverse mortgage worked and how it could be a real financial solution for their retirement.
If you're 62 or older and own your home, find out how you could access your home's equity to give you cash now and when you need it in the future. A reverse mortgage can put more money in your pocket by eliminating your monthly mortgage payments, paying off higher interest credit cards, and covering medical costs.
A person like me needed to get a reverse mortgage to change my life. It was the best thing I've ever done ever. Yes, without a doubt.
Just like these folks, AAG can show you how a reverse mortgage loan uses your built-up home equity to give you tax-free cash. They also know they can pay it back whenever it works for them.
It's a good thing. Call right now to receive your free no-obligation info kit. The kit will show you how you can get the cash you need using your home's equity as a reverse mortgage from AAG. Call 800-785-0605.
I've been with AAG for quite a while now. I think they're the real deal. So look, why don't you get the facts, like these folks did, and see if a reverse mortgage could work for you?
Call AAG, the country's #1 reverse mortgage lender. Call 800-785-0605. 800-785-0605.
How can you sleep on such a firm set?
Mine is almost the same.
Oh no. Just another word for not as good as mine.
Save 50% on the Sleep Number limited edition smart bed, plus 36-month financing on select smart beds. Shop now, only at Sleep Number.
Do you ever wish that you had spoken up sooner?
I hope that President Trump will come around.
Is there still zero communication between this administration and North Korea? What do you say to people who are worried you'll tip the election?
The Source with Caitlin Collins tonight at 9.
Let's have a wine with this.
At home, and at Georgia Power, we believe every Georgian deserves a clean energy future. A future that includes around-the-clock nuclear energy, producing zero emissions. And thanks to the dedication of thousands of team members, we've recently completed the newest nuclear unit at Plant Vogtle, a unit that will serve our customers with reliable energy for generations to come. Learn more at georgiapower.com/Vogtle. That's georgiapower.com/VOGTLE.
Set summer in motion with the most electrifying climate vehicles yet, like the CR-V and the Accord, both with available hybrid powertrains, designed to deliver more thrilling performance and more innovative tech. Make every adventure more electrifying with Honda, the most awarded brand in car and driver 10 best history. Buy online, reserve from select dealers, or visit your local Honda dealer today.
I'm Paula Reed, and this is CNN.
Welcome to the Lead Up Big Time. For this hour, a breakthrough study involving a popular weight loss drug and the risk for heart attacks and strokes, why it could impact insurance coverage of the drug. Plus, a major 2024 campaign shakeup among the Republican presidential hopefuls. Might this impact who lands on the first debate stage? Leading this hour, voters are heading to the polls in Ohio for a special election that could determine the future of abortion rights in the state, even though abortion is technically not on the ballot. This could be a referendum on what may be one of the biggest issues in the 2024 race. We're going to start with CNN's Jeff Zeleny. He's in Columbus, Ohio for us. Jeff, what exactly is on this ballot?
Well, Jake, this is all about whether a simple majority is needed to pass an amendment to the state's constitution, or if it would require a supermajority. At issue, as you said, is that November question on enshrining abortion rights in the state's constitution. But think of it as a two-step process here, because Republican lawmakers called this special election for today to try and raise the threshold. And by doing that, it's called Issue 1. That's all voters are deciding here today. That would raise the threshold from the simple majority of 50% needed to approve an amendment to the state's constitution to 60% needed to approve an amendment to the state's constitution. But that's not all. It would also make it more difficult for normal people, citizens, to put forward an amendment to the state's constitution. Right now, something is signatures are only needed in 44 of the state's 88 counties. If this issue 1 were to go forward, this would require signatures to be gathered in all 88 Ohio counties, effectively allowing one county to block the rules of the rest of the state. So that is the simple issue here. Is it a majority vote or a supermajority vote? And Jake's a very interesting crossing of party lines here in this debate as well.
So, Jeff, what do you say to somebody who looks at this and says, this just looks like the anti-abortion politicians felt they were going to lose in November on whether to enshrine abortion rights into the state constitution, which would have only required a majority vote. So now they're trying to change the rules on how to pass a constitutional amendment so that the minority gets to have sway over the majority. In other words, if 59% of Ohioans say, no, they want this abortion rights in the state constitution, that's still not going to be enough under these new rules if they pass.
That's right. It would take 60%. And Jake, this, of course, is coming into context of what happened last summer in the wake of the Supreme Court decision. Just about a year ago, we saw the amendment in Kansas passed to enshrine abortion rights there, just shy of 60%. In Kentucky, another red state, just shy of 60% as well. So we asked the Republican Secretary of State Frank LaRose, and the leading proponent of issue one, why something like this is constitutional or even appropriate. This is what he said.
I think that's a silly idea. I mean, this is democracy at work, asking the people, do they want to have the same kind of common sense protections in place that many other states have? Many other states around the country, many states don't even allow a citizen-initiated constitutional amendment. Again, the political rhetoric from the no side is going to be what it's going to be, but this is a common sense thing for Ohioans to say that we own our Constitution and it shouldn't be for sale to out-of-state special interests.
So Jake, this is also about more than abortion rights. It's also about minimum wage. There's a proposed constitutional amendment next year that could have Ohio voters decide minimum wage. So the proponents of this are trying to change the rules, if you will, to make it harder to amend this state's constitution.
Jeff, how much money has been spent in this special election?
The outside money, Jake, has been flooding in this summer. This has been a pretty short campaign, and more than $26 million has been coming in. Again, this is crossing more than just normal party lines. Democrats, if you look at it that way, are spending more on television ads than Republican aligned groups. There's been an ad war in television campaigns as well, and this is all going to culminate. The polls are still open. People have been walking in fairly slowly, but going into election day here, more than 700,000 people had already voted. So the polls close at 7:30 tonight, and Ohio counts their ballots fairly quickly. So we are expecting a result tonight on issue one. And then, of course, regardless, it goes on to November. So abortion will be front and center here in Ohio. Really the biggest argument anywhere in the country for the next several months, of course, going into the next campaign as well.
Jeff, they just need a simple majority to make it a 60% threshold in the future, right?
And that is the question here. A 50% majority tonight makes it a 60% majority needed for November and beyond.
Yeah, interesting. Jeff Zeleny, thanks so much. Panel's here to discuss. So, Michael, you just heard Ohio Secretary of State Frank LaRose tell Zeleny that he rejects the premise that this is about anti-abortion politicians trying to change the rules just so as to prevent abortion rights being enshrined in the Constitution. What do you think?
Well, I think that he's running for the Senate and he wants to grab the nomination so he's running to the right, and this is very helpful to him, as it was 20 years ago for Ken Blackwell when he spoke the quiet part out loud and said the Bush campaign thinks they can win Ohio if we put gay marriage on the ballot as a referendum. So he thinks this is going to be helpful to him politically. I think it's going to be helpful for Democrats in the end.
Jason, a new CNN poll, SSRS poll out today, shows that 64% of adults in the United States disapprove of the Supreme Court overturning Roe v. Wade last year. Only 36 approved. Do those numbers surprise you?
No, they don't. And actually, to his point about, of course it's about abortion. And there's no way around it. I believe that there should be a 60% threshold, but I would have liked to have seen it a year ago or 2 years ago put into place. Not now. But to the point about the polls showing support for abortion, I think what you're going to find is that if this loses today, if Prop 1 loses, and then the abortion question wins in November, then it's not really an issue next year. And so I don't know what you're fighting for next year. Now, if it wins today, then you could then surmise, all right, then we'll try again next year and get the 88 counties, the votes there, and then really put it on the ballot in the Senate race. So in a way, I think losing now for the abortion rights folks helps them next year, because then they can come back stronger and make it an issue in the Senate campaign. Otherwise, it's a done issue.
You should take a look at this map. Since Roe v. Wade was overturned, at least 6 states have either passed ballot measures to protect abortion rights or rejected measures that would have restricted abortion rights. When it is put to voters, abortion rights does seem to be the popular position, including in states that transgress.
Yeah. I mean, exactly, because what happens is when you talk about abortion in theoretical terms, I think, people will come out in different ways. But then when you start talking about women who are having miscarriages or have difficult pregnancies and need health care, or you hear about rape victims or health issues, then you see the public saying, no, they do want some abortion rights. And the fact is, when you look at this from as a popular issue, this has been a loser for Republicans. And you have some Republicans coming out saying, maybe we went a little too far, because this is not a winning issue, but it has been a way to motivate their base.
Panel, stick around, because we're also following this other big story playing out on Capitol Hill. CNN has some new reporting that House Republicans appear to have reached what seems a foregone conclusion that President Biden will face an impeachment inquiry by the end of the year. Republicans say the impeachment inquiry would be to investigate President Biden's alleged ties to Hunter Biden's business dealings when President Biden was Vice President Biden. CNN's Lauren Fox is with us from Capitol Hill. So, Lauren, what are House Republicans, and is there a difference between what are the Republicans saying, and what's the difference between an impeachment inquiry and an impeachment hearing or vote?
Yeah, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy has gone to great lengths, Jake, to make it clear that Republicans think that there could be the grounds for an impeachment inquiry in upcoming weeks, but he's really stopped short of saying when he would open that impeachment inquiry, or specifically if he is going to do it. But behind the scenes, a lot of Republicans believe that this is a foregone conclusion, that Republicans are
Bye, guys.
opening this impeachment inquiry